Okay, everyone, welcome. On behalf of me, Jean Darnell, I would like to thank the Mitchell and Leslie Frazer School of Education in Ontario Tech for this opportunity to present to you. This is the session is AI Enhancing or Erasing Identity in Education. And again, my name is Jean Darnell. Before we begin, I would like for you to have a link to our slides. If you're in the chat, it's already dropped in there. But if not, and you're looking at the screen, there's the link right there. I'll give you a couple of moments to click on it and follow along on your own computer, or you could just follow along on the screen. Here's a little bit about me so you know who's talking to you. You can look at all those credentials, but I can tell you one thing. I am a self-taught geek and nerd when it comes to technology and AI. So I taught myself code way back in 2001 through the first internet wave craze, and I was delayed in teaching myself HTML code for dummies. I learned from a book. So my background is in librarianship, so of course I would learn from a book on how to code, but that led to a business I created. And then, of course, when the second wave, because I promised myself since I was tardy to the first technological wave and craze, that if it ever happened again, i.e., AI, that I would hit the ground running. So this is me hitting the ground running. So that's a little bit about myself and my background. So let's go ahead and get knee deep in the mud. Let's get started. Now, my background is in librarianship, but it's also in ELA, it's also in journalism. I have a variety of different hats that I wear in addition to technology. So, my very first question, I know I love to hit you with some data. That's the librarian in me. But what are some ways that you engage with AI right now? So, this is an active poll. All you got to do is scan that QR code and then answer the question. What are some ways that you engage with AI? I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to formulate. I just want raw data here, your quick idea, and just drop it in that message right there after you scan your QR code. What your answer is. What are some ways that you engage with AI right now? That's what I'm looking for. Okay, I have something. Lesson planning. Whew, I got you covered today. Anything else? Who else has something out there that they would like to contribute? Productivity, definitely. Understanding it better, social media. I love these answers. Writing emails for work. Man, do I have something that's along those lines. Excellent. Okay, so efficiency, life, colleagues, all of those are excellent answers. And hopefully, I will cover most of that for you today. So, brainstorming, absolutely. For kids, AI is a wonderful tool for brainstorming. So, I definitely suggest that. Any other answers or input? Okay. So for the person that said writing emails for work, I want you to check out Goblin, okay, GOBLIN.tools/judge. And what it will do is it will grade and tell you the tone of your emails that you have to send. So I just wanted to drop that real quick. I just popped in my brain. I was just talking about it today. Again, it's called Goblin, GOBLIN.tools/judge, like the judge in the court. So these responses are excellent. Let me go ahead and show you some data because we're going to talk about this in more detail, but I want to get to some other bits of data. All right, this is what's happening right now in the United States. I know that most of this viewing audience, I should say, is in Canada, but this is what the data is saying here in the United States, which might not be too far off. I know Canada kind of scores better than us, but anyways, we'll just come to this. Look at this data. 75% have never ever used AI. And I find that alarming considering that generative AI has been here since I think it was fall of 22 is when ChatGPT OpenAI rolled out. And so almost this fall will be 2 years later, and we're still looking at 75% never have using it, and only 7% use it at work and can teach about it. So this is the opportunity. This is why I am grateful that you're here because looking at the numbers is scary. Okay. So AI, if I can sum it up in a detail, it's a machine trying to sound as human like and as human intelligent as possible. And with some of the people running around here, the machine has us beat by leaps and bounds. But what it boils down to is really computational thinking. And so I love this slide because it breaks down what computational thinking is, from understanding complex AI problems, which is the decomposition and breaking them down into smaller chunks. Pattern recognition, definitely machine learning relies on our habitual behavior, and students can develop these skills to kind of analyze. This is what we're transitioning to. I love AI because it's kind of like the catalyst. It's the fire that our education system needs right now under our bottoms to inspire us to elevate, if I could say it like that. But coming back to the computational thinking part, algorithmic thinking. AI loves algorithms. Okay. And so we need to expose our students, especially, to how to analyze an algorithm and then deduce a solution or steps to a problem that we're having. Debugging is another part of AI's computational thinking, which is, incorrect results. When AI hallucinates, and yes, it is called a hallucination when AI spits out the output from the input that you gave it, the output spits out something that's completely nonsensical or is not based in facts. That's called a hallucination. So, debugging our machine learning systems, definitely a part of the computational thinking. And of course, evaluation, looking at the output that the machine gives us and assessing it. So, these are all the components of AI that in this graphic, I think, best sums it up. I'm a gardener. I don't know about you, but I love to garden. And I think this is a wonderful interpretation, visual graphic aid for understanding what AI is right now. And we're going to look at some of the ethics, the algorithm, and we're collecting data right now, and then see how that programs, how all of that works together in a program to create the output we want from AI. But AI is not perfect. And so right now we're going to look at some of the discrepancies, but I'm going to begin with this little segment. All right. I don't know if you know about Adil Khan, but he is the founder of Magic School AI. And he was just at a summit and he discussed how public schools are treating AI versus how private schools are treating AI and the equity or lack thereof that is in between them so that we can teach our kids for the future. So if you would bear with me for a minute, I want to share with you a couple of minutes of what he's saying about AI and
That they didn't
equity.
have before to when they were struggling, help themselves, right? And every educator I know, their goal for their students is that they become agents of their own learning in the future and agents of their own lives. And I'm a big believer that AI only accelerates that. The future is in the hands of the resourceful. You're gonna have so many more tools to change the world with, and your ability to use those tools, your ability to employ them and arrange them in a way that manifests something of value in the world is going to be, your success or failure in the future will be contingent upon that in a way that has been true for forever, but even more true in the age of AI. And then, in a more practical way, there's like some righteousness. Our team talks about this around this technology proliferating in public schools and typically private schools and independent schools are the ones that adopt technology the fastest and are more open and willing to do these things. The bureaucracy that exists in large public school districts prevent technology from proliferating in those spaces, and we've seen this time and time again. There's a digital divide, there's an equity gap and proficiency in learning computers. One-to-one computers were at independent schools and private schools forever, and then the pandemic was the first time that we really started seeing proliferation around public schools. So I'll give you just a quick example of something that AI is creating an equity gap right here, right now, in this moment. Is there is a public school district that banned AI last year, many, and they vilified it. They told their students that if they used it, they would be kicked out of school, they'd be suspended, they would be given an automatic F. And then there were independent, wealthy private schools that said, open playground, you're a senior in high school, do whatever you need to do with this, learn about it, figure it out, and we trust you. It's funny how that works, right? We trust rich, wealthy kids in independent schools, and we don't trust kids in public schools. That's for another conversation. Drafted their ninth grade essay to get like a start, get some ideas, because they've been told that they were bad for using it. And there's going to be a kid from an independent private school who'll have a leg up, and they'll spend all their time refining it, coming up with new ideas with generative AI. And now they're starting from a place that they just get like they're starting with a leg up, and that's happening today, right? That happened this year on campuses, and there are still school districts that haven't even started creating policies or thinking about how they're integrating this, even with seniors in high school. So, I'm not saying that this is, a one size fits all for every community, but there is like a real urgency around either we're going to repeat the mistakes of the past, we're going to continue to create a greater digital divide for our students, or we're going to see this as an equity challenge and we're not going to repeat those same mistakes. And it's not, it shouldn't be the private schools, the independent schools leading the pack here. It should be the public schools saying our kids deserve this. This is a challenge of equity. And I look forward to a world where the public schools start leading the way in this.
Thank you.
So, what I found powerful about that is that right now, I am in a school district that has banned AI. And so I was completely upset because I'm like, whoa, wait a second. Why are we banning one of the most technological revolutions since the last of the creation of the internet? And so I took it upon myself. I was like, man, we don't have AI in our campuses. We can't access it. And we don't even have a policy. And by the time we get through as a deal with saying all the bureaucratic red tape, it's going to be 2 to 3 years. And all the other kids in the states that allow AI are going to be running circles around the state of Texas. I don't know if you figured it out yet, but I am from Texas, and boy, howdy, has it been some difficult times down here. But I wanted to get the students involved. I know that we're banned, but as soon as you say ban to a kid, guess what they're going to do? They're going to seek it out. They're going to go and try and find a way to use it. And so my intelligent way of using this and not getting in trouble was to have go to a high school. I don't know if you noticed on my credentials, but I am a part of the 2024 Pulitzer Center Teacher Fellowship. And my concentration, of course, is in AI. And so I had to figure out a workaround. And my workaround was we're going to use investigative journalism skills to determine what we wanted to learn and understand about AI, enough so that we could make some policies and help our school out. Because I really feel like student buy in, especially when it comes to new technologies and policies, their voices matter. And so, right along with the deal, I wanted the kids to have immediate access. And since I couldn't get them the access to the applications of AI, I was going to get it another way. This is where that dogged journalism, side of me searching for the story comes in, because that's what I did. I used articles that were in the Pulitzer Center collection and in public domain in general to start teaching and educating the kids. So this slide that you're looking at right now is how I did it, how I incorporated AI into my high school lessons, because let's just be honest, most AI is for age 16 and up. Now you have some applications that you can use on social media that allow for 14 and up. So if you are a middle school teacher or you have a combo middle and high school and you want to get a jump start on it, if they're 14 and up, then and it's okay for the policies, always check those AI user policies. Then you can, of course, start exposing your kids to it. But coming back to the investigative journalism part and how I did it, this is divided up into 5 sections, if you want to count the pictures as 2, but 3 main sections. The left side over here are all of the standards. I have ISTE standards. I have a toolkit guidance on AI, how to use it. I have an acceptable AI use policy. All of these links, especially if you copy the link that I gave you at the beginning or that's in the chat, you have access to. And of course, the AI key terms. Now, how I did it. In the center is the lesson implementation. And we're going to focus on paraphrasing AI policy, but you have 4 different lessons here. 2 of them that I wrote, the first 2, 7 innovative ChatGPT prompts to use with AI for literacy. This is what I have done in my library with my students. And there are 7 different ways that you can manipulate the prompts to get it to do what you want. That's a very fun lesson if you click through it and you're just trying to expose the kids to a soft opening to what generative AI can be. That's a good lesson to start. The main one that we're going to be looking at is this one called Paraphrasing AI Policy. And we'll get to that in just a minute. But right now, I want to talk to you about AI in our community. This is the professional development that I put on for high school students, college students, and faculty members. And that faculty member can be collegiate. I've done it collegiate, and I've also done it for school districts, and of course, professional development for case in point, the Texas Library Association. So I've put on this professional development in 3 different ways. And that is a great slide program that you can copy. It's in Canva. And there's a lot of content in there that talks about the biases and how to look out for mental health with your students using AI. So it's a deep dive into it. So if you want to look at it, you could definitely click on that link and take a copy. And then the last one is understanding biases from, it's just a common sense lesson that's curated by AI, and I thought was a great way to explain what biases are if you have a 0 point of reference. So as it relates to AI, that's a great lesson. And I'm going to come back to paraphrasing, but before I forget, I have a fun section, or at least kind of fun. It's AI fun facts and research that we've done. And there are 6 tips to determine if the AI work was cheating, if the work a student turned in was AI assisted. See, here in the state of Texas, they're of that mentality that Adil was saying that, oh, it's bad. If you use it, you're going to be banned. I'm going to kick you out of school. You're not going to graduate on time, whatever it is. They're operating from a place of fear. Okay. So I do have for, those that are of that mindset, 6 ways to detect if your student's work is AI generated. I don't want to click on all the links because that's going to take time, and then I have to worry about which screen is sharing and whatnot. But what does AI and AI integrated classroom look like? This is a fun collection from Matt Miller, and he's like a AI savant. In fact, actually, Matt and I are going to present at the Oklahoma State Technology Education conference in November, but we've worked together before, and he has wonderful ideas of how to incorporate different AI tech apps into your classroom. Then we have biases, pitfalls, fun, and advocacy, because there are people out there watching AI and asking for transparency. And then down here, we have wonderful graphics on how you can build your policy, how you can organize your policy, and of course, improve, transform, tweak, assess, all of those different things. The 7 steps that you can go through to incorporate AI. So we have a good foundation. All right. Now, I am going to click on AI paraphrasing policy because I want to take you through the process that I went through with the high school students. Now, we're not going to go through every single thing that's on this tab, but we will. It'll force you to make a copy, but we will take a look at it. So what I did with my students is I taught them how to paraphrase AI policy. So when it first came out, I said, look, we're going to look at Europe because they're the only one that had a policy that I could, that was collective, open, free, that we could look at, because America was still working on ours, and we were meeting with all of the big wigs of technology. Mr. Musk and Mr. Bill Gates was there, and there was a whole forum. Okay. But I wanted to teach kids how to paraphrase a big piece of information written in legal language and deduce it down to something that they could understand. So we went through paraphrasing. I showed them how to reword, rearrange, realize, and then recheck. So I know I'm going to skip through this quickly, but this is an actual section right here from the AI Act in Europe, which is like 12 pages. And this is just one policy. And so I had the kids look at it. We discussed it. They did a turn and talk to their shoulder partners. They paid attention to specific words. They summarized that policy in 25 words or less. With our kids, brevity is key. And so I reminded them of the 4 R's and told them not to plagiarize. And then we talked our way through the policy paraphrase. We looked at what words that were repeated. We looked at the action verbs, synonyms for action verbs, or the repeated words, I should say, and then the core facts from the policy, what it wanted you to understand. Okay. And so the kids were very responsive to this. And so then we had, we discussed it together as a group. And then I had them do a solo activity. They were supposed to look at this section and then tell me which one was the correct answer. So I'm going to give you a minute to read through, and I want to see if you could come up with what is the correct answer for this here policy right here, to summarize and best paraphrase this policy. Which one you think is the correct answer? I'll give you a minute or so to look at it. And that'll give me time to check the chat. Okay, if you have an answer, please go ahead and drop it in the chat so I can see it. What you think that answer is going to be? I wish I had a door prize for the first one to enter in an answer. Okay, Lynn Thomas, you said B. I appreciate you putting that answer out there. Let's see what it says, if B is the correct answer. Oh no, I'm so sorry. That was not the correct answer. Do we have any other guesses? Let me get back to there. Asma Arif. Okay, I see your answer. Aziza Nasiri. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced your name, but you said C. Let's click on C and see if that's the correct answer. Oh my gosh, it's right. So, all right, the reason why it was answered is because it was a good summary. It added synonyms. It went through our process, so to speak, of what I instructed the kids to do. So that was the correct answer, C, and it did not plagiarize anything word from the excerpt. Now, that EU Act was super huge. It was 12 pages long. And so I showed the kids through modeling way that they could deduce that information down. Okay, so we got it down to the top 5 of what the EU AI Act was trying to communicate. And so I have that there for the kids to look at. And then I wanted to take them into a real live article of what some police officers were doing with AI and the facial recognition technology. Okay, so we read through the article at the top on this slide, okay, and we discussed and paraphrased these segments into what this would look like as a policy. All right, and so we went through several different examples. Okay, we discussed these questions like, who do you think would benefit the most from AI as it is right now? Okay, who's most at risk with the rollout of AI? These big questions that we were discussing. This is Socratic discussion that we were doing. Okay, and then why must AI be paraphrased or simplified? Why isn't the regulation for AI written in a simple manner to begin with? Why do they have to use all these big legal words and jargon that just confuse and shut down people so they don't even want to engage with it? What's the strategy in doing that? And then how will your household or community be impacted if AI is or isn't regulated carefully? And then what should schools prioritize with incorporating AI? So after this lesson, my kids were fired up. They were just like, whoa, Miss D, this is what's going on with AI. And I'm like, yeah, and you're sleeping, you're playing on your phone, you're doing little TikTok dances and whatnot, and you're not paying attention to what's going on with the world. And so once we got that synthesized understanding and that kind of frame of reference, I had them start putting their thoughts in a Padlet. So this will take you to the Padlet and you can see their work and then what they came up with. I thought it was a wonderful kind of breakdown and synthesis of the information that was presented to them, and then start looking at some of the policies that they came up with. Again, this is high school. This was a high school mix of juniors and seniors. So these are just some of the paraphrases that they did, and of course, the policies that they wrote. Now, I did this lesson many times, and I presented it in my school district. I also presented it in Canada. Not Canada, oh my gosh, Chicago. Got my C's mixed up. But I also did it with Chicago students. And let me tell you, with my Chicago kids, I have a whole unit on AI, and we did 4 days of the unit. And let me tell you, we looked at all these different articles. I think we did all but 2 of them. We did beyond biases and our AI hiring tools racist, and there's no standard in investigators. We did 1 through 5, if I'm not mistaken. No, 1 through 5, and then we did 6. We did not do the tech tools. Okay, but after all of that investigation and the journalism and the articles and activities that we did, they came up with a set of rules. Now, before I click and show you the rules, I want to show you one of these articles so you can see and visualize what we went through. And I'm going to click on this one that says there is no standard. Investigators find that AI algorithm objectify women's bodies. It was Women's History Month, and so we were definitely looking at this because the class was a majority of girls, and that was their vote. So it's like, okay, we'll look at the data. So when you scroll down through this, the reason why this is so important, let me X out of this. Everybody wants you to sign up for everything. So let me get down to the nitty gritty, as my grandmama would say, of the details of this article. So we know that women's bodies and images and behaviors are heavily policed on the internet. Okay. The objectification of women seems deeply embedded in the system, the algorithmic system of generative AI. So I don't know if you are aware, but sometimes images on the internet are given what's called a RACI score. Okay. And so these two images stacked up, they're just people in their swimsuits enjoying the beach in the day. One of them has a 82% RACI scale score. Now, just through process of elimination and looking at the topic, we know that the two girls in the bikini over here received the 82% of on the RACI scale, which means it was more sexually charged. Now, I don't know about you, but petting a dog is not really my, kicks. But because these two women were in bikinis, it was labeled sexually suggestive. This woman getting her thyroid examined by a doctor was because she didn't have a top on. It was rated as 82% again on sexually suggestive. This mom expecting 90% on the RACI scale sore. And all she's doing is, a regular maternity photo, just that women take when they're expecting their baby to say, hey, this is you when you were inside mama's tummy. 90% on sexually suggestive. So when you think about the mental health and how it applies to young women, what is this saying to young girls? Your body is to be policed. And what are we seeing in society as it relates to the female body? How is it being, governed? How is it being objectified, criticized? Women are the most for getting shadow banned on the internet. Why is that? Okay. So it's just, like I said, we went deep into the discussion. Oh, I got to show you this content. This is a man. Let me keep going. It's further down. Oh, did I scroll past it? Oh, here it is right here. They've blurred it out. All right. So this is a man shirtless. He takes out the article of clothing of a bra, puts it on. His RACI scale goes from 12 to 99 just because of the article of clothing on a bra. So when my girl students started seeing this and seeing how they were being objectified through this investigative journalism, oh, they had something to say. They really did. So coming back to this, when it came time for them to write their rules, this is what my students in Chicago came up with. Okay, these were the 4 rules they generated by students on protecting their identity using AI in education. They said any AI policy written shall not infringe on our Fourth Amendment rights. Now, this is coming from when they found out that the police were tracking them through their cell phones and, through their social media. They found out about Social Sentinel, which monitors their social media posts. They have different relationships with X/Twitter, formerly known as Twitter. They have that connections with X, YouTube, Snapchat. So they were monitoring without consent these young adults and young students, their social media. And then if they felt like the algorithm said it was a safety concern, they would send out authorities. to track down and find specific people. And these kids did not know. These young adult college students did not know. In fact, it was the college students that did the investigation. One girl was followed home by a drone. She freaked out. She called her parents. The parents called the school. Everything got involved. And it was the police had to admit it was us. And we were just trying to make sure she got home safely. So no one knew. School hadn't told. They were doing this without any type of consent. So the student said, yeah, you're not infringing upon my Fourth Amendment right. Number two, students shall be informed about any AI tracking before they enroll in that school. Again, this is not Ms. Darnell's rule. These are rules that the students came up with on their own. I have the data to support it. And then the number three, AI shall not be used to mimic someone's face or voice with the intent to deceive or fraud for any reason. I thought that was boom. These kids were hitting the nail on the head, so to speak, on what they were creating in their brains of how they wanted to be treated in regards to AI policy, considering that in my school district, in a lot of school districts in the state of Texas, there is not a policy yet. So I thought that was phenomenal. Think about that as we're going through this election right now. And you have calls and images and pictures that can look and sound exactly like a person and might be able to convince you to do XYZ. So that's the power of AI. And the last rule that they created, a team creating AI policies should be diverse, well educated in AI, and successfully passed a background check. So the kids were right on the money. They understand what's at stake if you just give them a chance. And that's the whole point in this whole investigative journalism process, is to show them, hey, this is how you can protect your identity using AI. This is how you can advocate for yourself using AI. And as it relates to how you want to interact with AI, these kids hit it out the park. Okay. So, what are some ways that AI erases your identity or privacy using the algorithms and their machine learning? So, they can reduce your unique humanity into data points. You can just become a targeted person that they want to send specific ads to, or you could just be some type of data pattern. Okay. So you're no longer, Jean Darnell, engaging, fun, wonderful presenter. Nah, you're just a data tab. You're just, some little algorithmic check. Okay. So that's one way it can erase your identity or privacy. Secondly, reinforcing stereotypes via training data centered on Eurocentric ideas, beliefs, and myths. So, this is where I talk about a young student. She's an MIT student. She had Asian ancestry, and she took her headshot and she submitted it to the AI image and said, "Hey, could you make my headshot more professional?" Just wanted to see what would be done to it. Well, it took her defined cheekbones and it softened them out and it gave them some rosy pinkness. And it took her straight dark brown hair, lightened it up and gave it some waves. Okay. And it defined her eyebrows and it changed her eye color from brown to blue. And it gave her a completely different person back. She didn't even look like herself. She looked like, a European, Eurocentric model. And she was just gobsmacked and hurt. So my question was, what is the training data on these different AI image generators? What's the training data? What was it given to produce this output? And then those myths that go into it. It's the same for people of color. With generative AI, you know how when you have a symptom, you take a picture of it, or you go on Google and you start doing your own research to find out what it is. Well, in some of these generative AI programs, especially ChatGPT, it was perpetuating myths about certain races that we know was scientifically not true, but it was generating it as quote unquote a source of truth. So, reinforcing stereotypes. Influencing our self perception is rule number three. The likes, the bots, the racy scale ratings, the shadow bans, all of that influences how people behave. If you don't get enough likes, or you got a bot that is saying ugly things, or it's programmed to say, insulting slurs or whatever type of language, or you're just being heavily policed. This is how AI is erasing your identity or threatening your privacy. Number four, mistaken mental health crises for safety threats. Okay, so, and one of the lessons that I taught in this in the AI and community, there's a segment in a video called Robbie's Story. And Robbie was a student at ASU, and he had a mental health crisis, and he posted some things that progressively got worse on social media. Well, that progressively worse ended up with SWAT at his door, busting into his dorm room, and a gun at the back of his head. Now, for some kids in certain communities, that's a triggering situation, and it's going to cause things to escalate and go even more. Eventually, Robbie was kicked out of school and he was charged with federal crimes, but his biggest concern was he was having a mental health crisis, and he felt like he should have had the proper clinicians, doctors, and stuff to help him versus, of course, in law enforcement. And then the other thing is he was never even told they were being monitored by Social Sentinel. No one knew. And so we just have to be careful because sometimes those algorithms can make mistakes. And then the last one, removing privacy. You have predatory predictive behaviors. Who's controlling whom? This AI is coming up and saying that this is the problem. Federal authorities take action and it's a mistake. Well, who do you sue? Who do you talk to? Who do you go after to correct the wrongs? Okay? So these are different things that AI can erase your identity. Now, I want to talk to you about online disinhibition effect. Okay, this is basically the toxic behavior we go through online. All right, and this I'm going to go very quickly through it because I only have about roughly 8 to 10 minutes left. I'm sure someone will let me know the time, but I just want to hit this for you because in case we don't have enough time to come back and do it for breakout activity, these are online behaviors. I don't know if you were aware of what's called an acronym that's called ODE, and that's the online disinhibition effect. And there are 6 different types. Okay. And so, of these 6 different types, dissociative anonymity, that's hiding your identity. Invisibility, no one knows me. I can do whatever I want on the internet. Asynchronicity, no likes, no comments. What's going on? Why aren't you paying attention to me? The solipsistic introjection is the mental picture, what you imagine in your head, okay, that someone's voice sounds like or someone's face is. The disassociative imagination, your imaginary world that you live in, Alice in Wonderland. Sometimes those behaviors are exhibited on social media. And then, of course, the minimization of authority. No one's watching me. I can say what I want to say. I can threaten you. I can do this and this and that. And nobody was going to say anything. So these are different things that you can do. We can come back to this if there's enough time, because I do want to answer any questions should any of you have any. My next data point, you get to interact again. How much professional development have you received about incorporating AI into your work in K to 12 education? Oh, that's supposed to say education. I don't know what happened to the U, but it is supposed to say education. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a minute. Gonna take a look at the chat and see if anybody's asking me any questions. What? Oh, sweet Jesus. I'm looking at these numbers. You guys. All right. Thank you for your honesty. Number one, I appreciate that. But that is shocking. Okay, so welcome to your first AI professional development training. Okay, I'm glad some of you have had a little. It looks like roughly 36% of you, but I am shocked about 64% of you not having any. This is the perfect opportunity for you. This is the reason why I have my slides available to share. I want you to come back, ask me questions, pick my brain, do whatever it is, because there's no good locked up in this little Afro bun. I want to get it out. I want to share. I want to, preach on AI for lack of better words. I couldn't think of anything else, but I do want to, share my knowledge and help anyone who is afraid to get out there. AI can be intimidating. It is a big monster, but we can chunk it and reduce it down. And you can start little bit by little bit, and then we can eventually incorporate more and more, and you can get more comfortable with it because AI is not going anywhere. I think personally that AI is the perfect storm that public education needs in order to wake us up and stop doing archaic way of teaching that served the industrial resolution and resolution, the industrial revolution, I should say, and bring it into the 21st century. Because look at here, these kids right now, the jobs that we have in 10 years, 10, 15 years, none of it will matter because it will be completely different. We have to reinvent public education, and I feel like AI can do it. I know some people want to go off and start their own schools and build this charter here, but why not give public education a chance? We learned through the pandemic that there are a lot of problems with AI, and a lot of the way that we're teaching is archaic. And so AI, I think, is going to be the perfect way. Now, going back to what we just saw, I think it was 75%. Yes, 75% of you have never had any AI training, and that correlates 87%, according to Ed Week, the research that they've done. 87% have never received any PD about AI. And you guys, if we're going to be really, really, really honest, AI has been around for a minute. As long as there's been computers, there's been some type of artificial intelligence. So we can go all the way back to 1956. Now, AI, as we recognize it more modernly, 2008. Any of you had that Roomba vacuum cleaner, that little automated machine vacuum? Go around and clean your house while you're at work? That's AI. The chat bots, when you call in, you can't get a real person, or when you're typing in, you're asking for help, and you have this automated answers, those chat bots, AI. Siri, okay, Siri, and you can't even say that now because she all in your business. Siri and Alexa, AI. So you have interacted with them. If you've placed an order online or you've done any type of food ordering, DoorDash, Uber Eats, they use AI. So not having any PD, we got to change that because it's here and you're already using it in your everyday life. All right. So I know I've talked about a lot of heavy stuff. I want to talk to you about a little bit of the fun stuff before I take any questions or we go back and do the breakout activity. So this is how AI usage in libraries in your community. Okay. So first on the left, we have this robot. Okay, now it was used in restaurants, but there was a way that we could figure out, and we can reconfigure the robot to assist in libraries. So I want to show you, this is a little robot that McKinney Public Library, McKinney is a small town north of Texas, north of Dallas, I should say, here in Texas, and they have robots. Codes, but you can find the book that you're looking for or find the section at least, okay? And it will literally guide you to it. So if you're looking for a particular thing in a library, this robot, all you got to do is push button, boom, and it starts roaming around. It has a complete layout, uses the camera, and much like your, camera phone, and it will weave through the library and take you exactly where you need to go. So I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, that would just be the perfect assistant for me and my library because I, have kids that usually come into classes and I could just program the bot or they can go up and use it as I'm doing other activities to find the books that they need. So this is a wonderful way that we can incorporate, AI. And it just goes through and takes you. You're not going to miss anything. And of course, you do have a copy of the slides. But what I do want to show you is AI for mental health, because I feel like with the big monster that AI is, we have to operate with the sense of care that doctors do, which is do no harm, support and uplift, and always help where you can, because humanity hasn't solved our own problems yet before we start trying to transfer knowledge or sentient intelligence or whatever it is to a machine. But I think this is a wonderful way that we can use AI to support mental health. So this is a little video about WISA. It is an AI-based, okay, emotional support buddy chatbot. Okay, now this chatbot is overseen by psychologists, psychiatrists, clinical professionals. Okay, but I just want to give you the first minute and a half so you can see what it's about and make an assessment for yourself.
Let's take this into cognizance and understand about how a lot of these issues like depression, work-life imbalance, stress as well are affecting a lot of people, especially the youth. Startups and companies are taking cognizance of this. For instance, Visa is a company that's integrating artificial intelligence with mental health services to offer self-help to users 24/7. Joining in right now on the show is Ramakant Vempati, who is the founder and president at Vaisa, thank you so much for taking time out and joining in. And I understand that, when the company actually launched in the year 2016, the co-founder received a message from a young 13-year-old girl who said, "You're helping me to hold on to myself, and I thank you for that." And I believe that was really the turning point. Tell us a little bit more about how it works and what it is that the company does.
Thank you, Juan. And absolutely right. We started Visa as a product was launched in 2017. So essentially, what it does is you deliver cognitive behavioral therapy and mental health interventions on a chatbot. And so it's available on your phone 24 by 7. You stay anonymous. So being nameless obviously reduces a large part of the stigma for people to come forward and take help. We started Visa in 2017 mainly out of personal need. So we had experiences in our friends and family network on depression, bipolar, suicide. And essentially, we started Visa as a way of helping ourselves. Because even with all the will in the world, all the resources in the world, it is really hard when you're depressed to get out of bed and go and see a therapist. You do need something which can help you make sense of what is going on, create a safe space for you to talk about what's affecting you, what is bothering you.
Okay, so I don't want to, take too much question time, but that's a sense of what WISA is. And the last little thing is AI for mobility. Y'all check this out. Okay, this is the AI assistant, of course, bladed travel. Come on, with the cost of cars, hello, I'm ready to buy it right now. So these are just some of the wonderful things that AI and the technology that we have can do for our communities. Okay, so I wanted to end
You.
on a
Let's take
positive
this
note.
into
What's going on? Is going on? What's some of these videos? Okay, so last but not least, thank you for this opportunity. I wanted to show you these right here are AI generated Microsoft Office or Design Studio has these different prompts that you can use to create fun things. So this is me as Charlie Brown. This is me as Star Wars. And if you know anything about me, I'm a Star Wars fanatic. I got my skull shirt on and I have lightsabers the whole 9 yards. Copy of the slides. If you're interested, there's a podcast that I did, podcast interview that I did that I went more in depth of what we did with AI behind the lessons. So I'm going to get back to my main screen. Well, before I do that, I want to take you back to, I think it's slide number 9. No, slide number 13 on the online disinhibition effect. But I do want to have questions. If you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. So if not, how much time do I have left, Caitlin? Anyone?
You have about 2 minutes.
2 minutes?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So that's not enough time for the breakout rooms, but thank you for this opportunity. I will stick around in case and let your brain juices work and see if anybody has any questions. I appreciate this opportunity. This is fun. Okay, I hope I said something that sparked anything. Even if you don't have a question, leave me some feedback so I know where you're at. Head game, was this intimidating for you? Do you feel like this is something that you can take and use, or run with it, develop? Just give me some type of interaction. I see Mr. Barnes, I saw you wave and give a thumbs up. I appreciate that. Anyone else, you have something to say? Where are you folks at with privacy and AI? Okay, so regarding student work being submitted through checkers. Oh, thank you, I appreciate that. So with me, my school district, you cannot use AI at all. So there's no submitting it with any type of paperwork or any type of lessons or essays that you turn in. You cannot use it. Is 100% banned. So I personally feel like that is the wrong way to go. Let the kids use the technology. Let them come up with the ways to interact with it. Let them use it for a brainstorming idea. If they have nothing but Tweety birds flying around in their brain, let them use AI to inspire them. All I say is document it. If you used AI, tell me that you used it. Show me how you took it and made it better, made it your own, enhanced it, whatever it is, tweaked it, whatever part that you did, added to it to make it your own. Share, be honest. What we don't want is for you to cut, copy, and paste, because it's so easy to write an essay. You can get an essay done in 4 seconds with generative AI. So if that's something you want to use, I say incorporate it. That I'm going to stand on the advocacy side for using AI. So thank you for that question. Lisa, I see your comment. I think Lisa Lofreddy. I'm sorry if Lofreddy. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it, but yes, my school board is not even coming up with a policy yet. And I've been ringing bells and sending emails. Oh, okay. I have a question. Okay, I cannot see the question. Can someone help me out? I had a hand raised and a question.
That was me. Hi, thanks a lot. It was a very enriching session, and I honestly learned a lot through through all the slides and everything that you walked us through. I just had a question. I'm a teacher at of grade 8, and we have speech competitions, and we have inter-school speech competitions as well. This is the first time that my students have actually taken the entire essays from ChatGPT or different AI sources. And now, if I put them on stage, it's not truly their work. So how do we screen that plagiarism or cheating, or call it whatever? Although brainstorming and getting ideas and everything was allowed in the classroom, but it ended up that they exploited the entire concession, and they copied the entire thing, and they presented the work with their own name. I'm not saying all of them, but most of them did that because it was the easy way out. One did it and the rest followed. Now, how do we screen that? And especially with the speeches that are not written by the students, if we move them to an inter-school speech competition, and they get labeled or identified over there, then what happens? So what are your suggestions there?
Well, I would how I would tackle this problem. I would model for them what I want them to, how that I would want them to use AI in an acceptable manner. So that means if I had a topic, I'm going to enter into AI and I'm going to show you what we can do with it and how you can use it effectively. So I definitely feel like modeling for them how they can interact with AI in a safe manner. If you've shown them the way, and then give them more of a chunk plug and play of how they can use AI as an inspiration to incorporate into their speech, but they cannot use it in its entirety. So if you want to portion it out in percentage wise, maybe you can use 25% of AI assistance in your essay, and the rest, has to be written by yourself, of yourself. And, I would have them submit their speech in a Google document so you can go back and check the version history of it to make sure that it was something that progressed kind of gradually versus a huge chunk in input. And I would tell the students, hey, when you submit it, I want full editing rights on this version of this document so I can see how much of this was written by you and how much of it was generated in it. So you can check them, and I would say model for them what you want them to use with AI, how you want them to use AI in a safe, effective manner so they don't lose points. And then I would have them, if they have an essay that or a speech that they've written on a Google document, to share it with you so you can look at the version history of it. I'm almost out of time. I am out of time, I should say. So those were my first 2 ideas, but thank you so much for the question. And please email me. I've left my contact information. It's on my contact slide about all my credentials. Please ask me questions and email me and let me know, okay? So I'm sorry I didn't have enough time, but thank you so much for the question.
Thanks
Lisa
a
did
lot,
have a
Natalie.
question. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I was just saying,
I have
Lisa had a
another one.
question for you in the chat as well.
Okay, hang on a second. Let me get back to the chat. Okay. Thank you, Andrew. Where's the question? I didn't see it. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It says, Jean, I am also a teacher librarian in a high school setting. I want to put AI resources and presentations together for our staff and students. Where do you suggest I begin? Where did you begin?
Okay, so I have my own website. I decided to tackle AI through that platform. I have a good following. I have about 300,000 people that pay attention to what I say and do. So that's where I started. I put my lessons there. I gradually introduced AI, whether that's a 5-minute tech that I sent out to all of my faculty of saying, hey, this is something really cool. That Charlie Brown icon that I had on my last site, I just sent the prompt out there and said, hey, give me a creative prompt that you've done on your own, that you've tweaked this to make it something fun and interesting that best represents you. Start small. Go for 5-minute tech tips, 10-minute here sessions. If you can collaborate on your conference period, say, hey, I have a 10-15-minute little AI tip that I can share with you. As long as you can give me some feedback, I would love to teach it for you and only take 15 minutes of your time. So introduce small bits and then collaborate. For those that respond well to your small bits, get on a bigger lesson, okay, and lay it all out there, show them, and then make that lesson to be the Olympic god, so to speak, that you can model for your whole campus to get that buy-in. Okay, I am going to shush. Thank you guys so much for your responses. This is amazing, and this was a wonderful experience, and I hope you guys took something away from my session. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Yay! I'm done. And see you guys later. Have a great night.